Welcome back. In the last video, we created our inventory bar and added some more widgets to it, as well as created a bunch of boxes to partition this into different sections. In this video, we're going to continue with the inventory bar. Now, let's go back into the content browser, into assets/textures/icons, and we're going to right click and create a new folder. And let's call this one button icons. So button icons. And I'm going to take our icon circle outline 2 and drag that and move it into button icons. Now let's go ahead and open button icons, and we're going to import from the assets that we downloaded from GitHub. Now in icons, we're going to go to button icons and go ahead and drag in inventory select button and inventory select button 2. Select those and click open. And now we have those. Let's go ahead and select those and change the compression settings to user interface 2D for both of those. So double click, use user interface 2D, and go ahead and close out of those. Now let's go back into inventory bar. Now I'm going to go ahead and start minimizing some of these. So for ammo count top box, I'm going to minimize that. For default weapon top box, I'm going to minimize that. And for inventory top box, I'm going to minimize that. Now for the default weapon bottom left box, we're going to add an overlay. So let's go ahead and get an overlay and drag it into default weapon bottom left. In this overlay, let's go ahead and set it to fill, and we'll add a canvas panel, and that's going to allow us to use an icon. So on the overlay, we have a canvas panel, and in the canvas panel, we're going to set this to horizontal and vertical alignment fill, and on this canvas panel, we'll add an image. So the image will go on this canvas panel, and for this image, we're going to call this default weapon button. And we're going to set the settings to the following. We're going to set the anchor to center, and we're going to set the size X and Y each to be 36. So it's a 36 pixel image, and half of that's 18. So we're going to set the position X and position Y to -18. And that way we've got this centered here in the middle. Now for the image, let's go to the brush and select image, and let's select inventory select button 2. And you'll see now that it's this little square. That's what the inventory select button is this little white square. Pretty simple. Now, here in the canvas panel that our inventory select button is on, we're going to drag in text. So let's go ahead and add text, drag that in just under the canvas panel. I'm going to name this and call it default weapon text. Now let's give this a text value. I'm going to give it the value of F, and I'm going to change the font. I'm going to search for one of these fonts, HeadHuman font. Now we'll set its horizontal and vertical alignment to center. Now I'll go ahead and set its size to about 20, and I'll give it a outline with an outline size of 1. So now our default weapon has this little indicator showing you what key you need to press. So in order to get this here in this box, we needed an overlay, a canvas panel, and an image as well as text on the overlay. So we want this same thing on the bottom boxes for all of the weapons. So let's go ahead and do this one at a time. So we'll select the weapon 1 bottom box, and we'll first add an overlay. And to the overlay, we're going to add a canvas panel. Now we'll select the overlay, select fill, and select the canvas panel and set horizontal and vertical alignment both to fill. Now on the canvas panel, we'll add an image, and we'll call this image weapon 1 button. And we'll set the anchor to center, size X to 36, size Y to 36, and position X to -18 and Y to -18. And image, we're going to select inventory select button 2. So that gives us that rectangle there. And onto the overlay, we'll also add a text. So we'll drag a text onto this overlay, and we'll rename this text to weapon 1 text. We'll set the text horizontal and vertical alignment to center, and I'm going to give this a value of 1 for the text, and I'll set its font to the same head human font. I'll set its size. Let's see, what was the F? The F had a size of 20, so we'll set this size to 20 and give it an outline size value of 1. So there we have the outline and the number for this weapon slot. Okay, so we'll go ahead and minimize the weapon 1 bottom box, and we'll select a weapon 2 bottom box. So again, we're going to need an overlay. We'll drag that in. I'll go ahead and set it to fill. And while I'm at it, just to save time, I'll drag an overlay into the other boxes as well. And I'll select each of these overlays, and I'll set them all to fill. That way we don't have to search for overlay over and over again. Now I'm going to go ahead and add canvas panels to these. So I'm going to add a canvas panel to the weapon 2 bottom box overlay. I'm going to add one to the weapon 3 bottom box overlay, weapon 4, and weapon 5. And I'll go ahead and select each of these and set their horizontal and vertical alignments to fill. And once I'm done with that, I can finally drag in images onto each of these canvas panels. So I'm going to drag in an image onto each one, and I can just drag them straight on to each of these, and they should go right into the canvas panel. So for the first one, I'm going to call this weapon 2 button. For this next one, weapon 3 button. Then we have weapon 4 button. And finally, weapon 5 button. And we're going to need to go into each of these and set their properties. We're going to set the anchors to center, the position X and Y to -18, and the X and Y size to 36. We're going to set the image to inventory select button 2. And I'll just do the same thing for 3, 4, and 5. Now all that's left is to drag text onto each of these. So let's go ahead and search for text. We'll take a text and we'll drag it right here onto the overlay. And I'm going to do that for the overlays for all of these icons. Now I'm going to select the text for weapon 2, and I'm going to call this weapon 2 text. I'll get weapon 3 and call this weapon 3 text. Here's the text for weapon 4, that's weapon 4 text. And for weapon 5, that's weapon 5 text. And now we simply need to set the properties for these. So weapon 2 text, we'll set these to horizontal and vertical. And I'm going to give this a value of 2. And I'll set the font to head human font, set the size to 20, and give it an outline size of 1. And there we have our 2. Now let's go to weapon 3 text and do the same thing, except we're going to give the text a value of 3. And now for weapon 4 text. And finally we have our weapon 5 text. We're going to set both of these to center, give it a value of 5, select head human font, give it a font size of 20, and an outline size of 1. Okay, so now each of these has little icons that show us which key we can press to switch to those weapons. That's what these are for. So that's going to go ahead and conclude this video. In the next video, we're going to continue with our inventory bar and work on getting this onto the screen. All right, we'll see you in the next video.